Michael Porter Jr. on a podcast was talking about sports gambling, and he said, you can get rich. You can get your homies rich by telling them, hey, bet 10K on my under. And you couple this with the fact is, as we told you earlier, the governor of Ohio is trying to push through legislation that will get rid of prop bets that individual athletes have control over. That in reaction to two different Cleveland Guardians pitchers that are being investigated for possible gambling allegations. It just speaks, though, Caroline, to the fact that right now, one of the biggest disconnects to me is the lack of understanding from athletes on the fact that they're going to get caught. Like, there are simple regulations that exist at every sports book. And if unusual bets come in on one player's under directly before a game, the first thing that they do is flag it, and then it gets investigated. Like, I need to remind everybody that part of the reason we keep seeing all of these instances of athletes being investigated and caught is because the guardrails are working. Like, this is the way the system is supposed to work to catch the people that are doing it. And it's alarming to me that Michael Porter Jr. would sit there and think even that he can say that and that people wouldn't catch it being done.
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr., maybe just don't say that. Maybe just don't say in detail of what you would do to get you and your friends rich, essentially by rigging a game. Maybe don't say that in public on a podcast. I don't know, just a crazy little thought there. I'm a college baseball nerd, and I'll go back to the 2022 college baseball season. Brad Bohannon was the head coach of Alabama baseball. They were playing LSU. Now, LSU went on to win the national championship that year. That was when Paul Skeens was pitching at LSU. He was their Friday night starter. Alabama's Friday night game, like an hour before first pitch, Brad Bohannon told him, hey, you're not playing, and we're going to play this guy who hasn't started a single game all season long. That's a little fishy, right? You're going up against the number one team in the country, hands down the best pitcher in college baseball, and you sit your ace in favor of a guy who hasn't started? Weird. It came out that Brad Bohannon was on the phone with a friend at a Cincinnati sports book saying, I'm, put all of this money, like tens of thousands of dollars on LSU to win that Friday night game. And there was this guy, his friend in the sports book, who was going around to the people that work at the sports book and at the casino and saying, if you knew what I knew, you'd put this much money on that game too. How stupid can you be? Don't you think that it is very, very obvious, not just what the coach was doing, but the amount of money put on LSU to win that game just before game time, before the pitching swap was even announced, that there was going to be maybe some red flags there, maybe some targets put on your back there? Sportsbooks are smart, casinos are smart, and they don't want to lose money. So if they feel like there is any sort of nefarious activity going on, they're going to flag it. And we've seen it. We saw Calvin Ridley get flagged for sports gambling. Several players in the NFL get flagged for sports gambling. They're serious about this. The leagues are serious about this. The leagues are terrified of potentially fixed or rigged games coming to light in their leagues. They don't want that to happen. Sportsbooks don't want to lose money. Nobody wants the integrity of their business to be compromised. So I hear people saying, well, we need sports gambling, to be taken away completely. Well, do we need prohibition, or do we just need people to follow guardrails? Because so far, Fitz, I think the guardrails are working. Just follow the rules.
I always go back to, I grew up in Las Vegas as a little kid, and my parents both worked in casinos, were casino managers at one point. And when we moved from Vegas to the East Coast, my friends as a kid would walk up and they would all start talking about how casinos were rigged. And this was, post mob, obviously. And like everybody, right. But there was this mentality of like, oh no, weighted balls, like all the games are fixed. And I remember my mom wildly, just very bluntly explaining to a friend's family, look, two things. One, it's so wildly regulated that nobody would ever do anything to try and work around it. It's just not worth the risk. And two, my mom said very smartly, also, casinos don't need to rig anything because people are stupid. And my mom always preached that. Like, people are stupid. And her whole point was, whatever you win, you'll eventually give back because you lack self-control. And that's what casinos bank on. I don't think gambling is really any different. Like, they don't need to sit here and put massive guardrails in place because of athletes. Realistically, all everybody's trusting in this situation is that most of you are going to win a massive parlay at some point this year. And when you win that parlay, you're going to show all of your friends the $150 you won on that $5 play. you're not going to show your friends the other 200 parlays you played that all lost you money this season. Like, that's the way the world works. So I continually look at this and say, hey, we need to make sure that the leagues are on the up and up. We need to make sure the athletes are on the up and up. And there are regulators and regulations in place that literally do that. But if we're sitting here saying we're going to take away everybody else's right to gamble, I think what you're losing in that process is that part of the reason your sport has become so popular, all sports, is because people gamble on it. Like, it is a real conversation, Caroline, of, hey, you want to ride this with me? I'm taking LSU in this game. Who's riding with me? You start taking away the ability to do some of that, you will see a decline in popularity of sports. Gambling is directly related to why we pay so much attention.
I think it's another reason why the WNBA has been so incredibly popular. And credit to the league and credit to Caitlin Clark. Of course, those are all factors, but betting creates intrigue that may not already be there. If I bet on a game, I'm going to be watching it. If I bet on a Montana Central Michigan game, I'll turn that one on, which normally I wouldn't care about that at all. There are a lot of vices that exist in the world, right? I don't blame alcohol distributors for alcoholism. I don't blame Apple for iPhone addictions. I can't blame sports books and casinos for gambling addictions. I can blame individual people for not following the rules or not having discipline. Let's not directly, attack the source of it. Let's identify individual cases where people are not responsibly engaging in those vices.
Weirdly, I would be more worried about gambling in sports if we weren't catching athletes doing it. At some
Yeah.
point, they're doing it. If you're not catching them, then that means the right things aren't being done. But the fact that we continually find people that are being punished tells me that the right things are happening. And in that mindset, we don't need to take away everybody's opportunity to do it simply to protect ourselves from a few bad apples standing on the mound for the Cleveland Guardians.